live. What's up, people? It's your boy Max, the WrestleManiac, here to talk all things AEW Dynamite with yourself. Hope everyone is doing well. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Twitch. As you come in today, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, subscribe if you got Twitch as well. Trying to do a little thing over there. So, yeah, hit the button over there as well. Hope everyone is good. AEW Dynamite, man. So next weekend is Dynasty. Looking forward to the show. I think there's a couple interesting things that are building, which, yeah, if they pan out, could work in our favor. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into, obviously, what happened on this Dynamite show. I know generally right now the mood isn't the best for AEW fans. I think there's a lot of positives happening on the show, which we'll kind of touch on in places as well. I think the women are doing some good stuff. Definitely think the women's division is on the uptick and looking good. I think the World Championship picture developing well because we've got Swerve as a really good contender. We've got Owen Hart tournament on the horizon, the Owen Hart Foundation tournament thing, and some good names look to be involved. Jay White, Hangman Adam Page. So that looks good. Mox still at the top, still the champion. It's questionable. It's very questionable for some at this point. But I think that Mox is at the very least serving as a good heel, like a good person that you want to see lose. You see what I mean? It's not like we don't care about it. Like now we've got especially Swerve chasing the title. We think, okay, this is someone that we want to see be defeated now, sort of thing. There's a very good kind of hero and villain narrative between these two people that we've got now. And, you know, we will kind of start the show by getting into what those men had to say. But yeah, we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about some of the stuff that happened around the Hurt Syndicate stuff, which I'm very intrigued around that. I'm very intrigued to see what's going on there. We'll get into it. Let's cut the chit chat. Like I say, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here. We're going to get into the first major thing. And as you guys know, I always try to divvy up the show into the top 5 things that we learned from whatever we've watched. And in this week, it is AEW Dynamite. So the top 5 things we've learned from AEW Dynamite. Number 1 is around Swerve Strickland. And Swerve Strickland were going face to face with Jon Moxley. I thought this segment was so strong. It was a really strong segment against 2 really defined characters. As I was saying just a bit ago, Swerve Strickland coming in now as the number 1 contender. That is undisputed. No one can argue that fact. He won the match against Ricochet at Revolution. He is the number 1 contender. Jon Moxley as the villainous world champion that truly people can't stand. You know, I wouldn't say he has go away heat, but he's someone that, you know, people truly cannot stand right now as champion. So we want to see someone, you know, overtake him, take his title from him, and we see this whole story move along. I think people will be more than happy for it to be Swerve. So yeah, I think we are at a place now where all roads are leading to Dynasty. We know that this is the World Championship match, and in this promo, Moxley talked about, like, you are the right kind of guy that I was talking about, that I wanted people to raise themselves to the next level, and I wanted this company to do better. And Moxley kind of gave Swerve Strickland his props in that regard, that you are the guy that's kind of, you know, leading the charge in everything we're talking about here. However, Moxley said, you know, paraphrasing here, but it'll be a cold day in hell before you beat me for the championship, sort of thing, even though I rate what you're doing. And it was good because, you know, we saw him acknowledge Swerve as a former world champion, as a dangerous guy, But obviously, he's got confidence in his own abilities. He's got confidence in the Death Riders. And we saw Claudio Castagnoli standing behind Nana in a very intimidating way. We saw Marina Shafir try to kind of corner Swerve in the ring as well, but before she can get involved, we saw Willow Nightingale, who I guess Swerve Strickland had prepared to have his back in that kind of scenario to take care of Marina Shafir. So Willow Nightingale not doing much of anything right now, hopping from situation to situation. She's just left the cope situation with the Death Riders, and now I guess she's helping here. So there is some level of continuity between the two. But yeah, Willow Nightingale's not really doing much herself right now, if we're being completely honest. We saw Swerve basically not back down and say, you know, he won the championship last year at Dynasty and he is back to win it again, sort of thing. Be a two-time world champion. A great line where he told John Moxley to stop playing John Moxley on TV, which is actually a callback to when John Moxley was Dean Ambrose in the WWE and was preparing for a world title match, I think, against John Cena. It may have been a triple threat match with AJ Styles from the top of my head. But yeah, Moxley or Dean Ambrose then, he told John Cena, you just play John Cena on TV, sort of thing. So I would like to think that was intentional by Swerve, that little callback, which was a really good line. But look, we're looking at two dangerous men as of now, and I don't think there will be, because it's maybe a bit late in the day, but as of now, there is no stipulation to this match. It is just these two men going at it. But AEW tend to have really relaxed rules, should I say, in their matches. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw tables. I was say chables. What's a chable? Chairs, tables, all the kind of tools and artillery brought out for this world title match. These men both like violence. They both like inflicting, receiving, you know, getting color on them, turning red. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we get there for this world championship match. Do I expect Swerve Strickland to win his second world title? If this was like a couple weeks ago, I'd probably say no. But right now, I'm not saying yes, but there is definitely something to this. I think there's 100% something to this, because again, Moxley, people are tired of it, and you know, people thought that at Revolution they would find a way to get the belt off Moxley, whether it was using Cope, whether it was using Christian Cage. Neither happened, which I was happy about, because I don't mind Moxley losing the title. I just don't want him losing it to either of those guys. Do I say nothing against those guys and be all politically correct? Like, I wouldn't mind if Christian won it more than Cope. But either way, I just don't think, you know, let's move forward. If older guys want to win the title, for me, it has to be the right kind of older guy. And these two don't fit into that bracket for me personally. So I was more than happy for John Moxley to win the title, or retain the title, should I say. But now we are faced with the proposition of Swerve, someone that we can all get behind, someone that we all like, going after the title, going after the championship. And can Swerve get it done? Can Swerve get it done? I think it is a large possibility it can happen. And I'm only saying that because I'm looking down the road. I'm looking at All In, the big show, Texas, about what, 50 odd thousand people that they're trying to get into that building, right? Tickets still selling. And if we're looking at a situation where Swerve is world champion, going in defending against, let's say, a Hangman Adam Page, which is it's becoming the forever story now in AEW, and a brilliant one at that. Like, we could be looking at that kind of situation. We really could be looking at that kind of situation. Hangman versus Swerve for the world title. And Hangman, you know, he said, my endeavor is to stop Swerve winning the world championship. Well, now you're at All In, you can pretty much take it off him. And that could be a really strong story that they go and, you know, use right there and there. Will Ospreay is going to be in that Owen Hart tournament. Will Ospreay has straight up said that he wants to main event that show. He has said it in kayfabe. He has said it in interviews. So, and we had Swerve versus Ospreay. Was it a Dynasty last year or maybe shortly after that, where Swerve won? Swerve, I think that was Swerve's first defense, and Swerve won the match. So this could be a good way to kind of do Swerve versus Ospreay 2, maybe have Ospreay pick up the title. Or if the original plan was for Darby Allin to win the title or challenge for the title at that show, again, Swerve versus Darby is history laden. You know, there's lore to it, as the kids would say. So it's like you could go back and run that back, sort of thing. So I really do feel like there is a lot of strong possibilities here, which makes the percentage of Swerve beating Moxley higher for me. It really does make it higher than I thought it would be. Personally, I want them to, what's the word, abandon the Darby Allin thing. Like, I think Darby, you've missed your boat. You wanted to go climb Mount Everest. Cool, fine. But we can't be holding up storylines because of you doing that. So I would like them to move on from that. But will Swerve become AEW champion at AEW Dynasty? I think it is. I think it's very likely. I think it's very likely. The percentage is getting higher in my head. Would love to hear from you guys. Let me know down below in the comments and in the chat if you feel like Swerve Strickland can get the job done against John Moxley at Dynasty. Let me look at what you got. Eric Douglas here in the chat. Big up Eric. He says, I feel like Darby also should be champion, but I don't know if Tony wants to wait that long. This is it. To be honest, if I'm completely honest, I'm not behind Darby Allin being champion. Like, I think it would be a great moment, him winning the belt, right? But then it's like, for me, my biggest thing is like, every match he's gonna go into and get absolutely beaten up and thrown around the place, like, and get ragdolled, because that's what Darby Allin does. He gets ragdolled a lot. And then what would he be doing? Escaping with victories and just rolling people up and running out the ring with a world title. I don't know if I'm all there yet with it, with Darby Allin. I mean, I like violence and I like his style of wrestling and how he literally throws himself about and the danger he kind of puts himself in. I'm a bit of a sicko in that regard. But as a world champion, I don't feel, the gravitas of this guy with the world championship. Not yet, anyway. I just don't feel it. So, yeah, I actually don't want Darby to be anywhere near the world title, personally. But yeah, we'll see what transpires in that world title picture. We're gonna move on to the second thing that we learnt about this show, or the second thing we learnt from this show, and it was that Kenny Omega, he's finally had his opponents for his international title decided. We know that's going to be Ricochet. We know that's going to be Speedball Mike Bailey. And he came face to face with Speedball Mike Bailey on Dynamite after his opening match against Blake Christian. And Ricochet seemingly dialed in and called on the Titron to cut his promo from his wedding. So big up Ricochet, big up Samantha Irvin. They are now married, Mr. and Mrs. Mann. Trevor Mann, Mr. Mann, Mrs. Mann. Yeah, they're all married now. So I think that's cool. We had a really kind of respectful exchange between Speedball Mike Bailey and Kenny Omega about, I followed you and your talent and this, that, and the other. And Kenny Omega was being quite what's the word, comical in his responses and stuff like that. Like, it was a good, fun segment. It looks like, at least between these two, this is all just built on respect and stuff like that. And then Ricochet is obviously the heel in the situation. This match, I expect this match to be terrific. I expect this match at Dynasty to be so good. I expect Kenny Omega to retain the title. And then it's a question of where we go from here. I would still imagine the idea that they have for AEW All In would be Omega versus Okada. maybe they, amalgamate the belts, put the belts together, undisputed international continental title, or whatever they're gonna call it, or whatever. Um, yeah, I imagine that could be a thing. I imagine at the same time that AEW want the more belts and won't do that either. Um, but yeah, I don't see right now Kenny Omega being in any jeopardy when it comes to this particular title, this particular defense. I think he may pin Mike Bailey in the match. Ricochet can then make up some noise. Then we get a one-on-one match with Kenny Omega and Ricochet, which will be great. But yeah, I just feel like this is smooth sailing. There isn't much to discuss here. It's a high-profile, good title defense that we're going to see. Brilliant matching on the horizon. I know that for sure. But jeopardy, I personally can't see any. I think Kenny Omega walks in and walks out as the AEW International Champion, and goes on to whatever challenges next. Ricochet, I guess, being kept in a good position, a decent position. I remember, I think after he lost to Swerve at Revolution, he said, "I don't want that big old belt anyway," or something like that. And then he said he'd rather have the international title. So, yeah, he's still being mischievous and fun with it. Speedball Mike Bailey coming into the company in the shape of this international series thing that they had. I think he can. It's better for him to take the loss early on, because it's funny, you start booking someone as win, they always win. And then when they have a championship match, you think, well, they're on a winning streak, and it kind of puts pressure on the whole situation. So more and more these days, I'm a fan of, let's just get the loss out the way. Let's get the loss out the way early doors, so that we don't keep kind of selling this whole they're on this undefeated streak type thing. So yeah, I think being pinned in a triple threat match by Kenny Omega after one winged angel, please, that's nothing to, that is nothing to be embarrassed about or anything like that. What he does afterwards could be very interesting, but yeah, like I said, I think Kenny Omega wins this match and moves on. He's been doing some great work and just looks in just great condition. Good to have Kenny back, man. It's good to have Kenny back. Let's talk about the Hurt Syndicate. This is the third thing that we learnt from AEW Dynamite, right? MJF actually was about to accept the help of MVP and, I guess, effectively join the Hurt Syndicate. He was about to do it. He was about to do it, and then their entrance music hit again. And Roberto Lashley and Shelton Benjamin came out and poured cold water on it. Lashley came in between MVP and MJF and took the card. He asked for the card several times. MJF brought out the card. He took the card and he tore the business card in half. MVP was asking Lashley, what the hell's all this about? Why are you doing this? Like, why are you disrupting what we had going on? And seemingly, the Hurt Syndicate are not all on board with MJF joining the Hurt Syndicate. So MJF backed off. He let them kind of hash it out and stuff like that. This then proceeded into a segment where we saw Big Bill and Brian Keith come out and kind of laying claim to the next opportunity at the AEW World Tag Team Championships, which looks like it's going to be a thing, which is fine. I think they're good fun, and then they're not going to beat the Hurt Syndicate, but we have to have challenges. We have to have an active division, right? Later on down in the show, we saw the continuation of, I guess, this Hurt Syndicate quarrel around MJF joining, and we found out the reason was because Bobby Lashley wasn't too comfortable with MJF, and he's got a track record with factions. He's got a track record of just being MJF. So when justified like that, it makes sense why Bobby Lashley is like, are you sure about this guy? Are you sure, sort of thing. And MVP, he went to bat for him. MVP said, look, we've been talking about adding a fourth guy for a while, which was music to my ears, because although I still don't really think the fourth guy is going to be MJF, I think the fact that they're doing what I guess the fans wanted is good, right? And we're going to come back and talk about who this fourth person could potentially be, slash who it should be, etc., etc. But yeah, MVP took the side of MJF and said, the guy is dangerous. He wants to show himself. He can raise the stakes here. All I wanted to do was business, all of that kind of stuff. And seemingly, they all agreed and squashed it and said, well, if that's your guy, if that's your pick, then, we trust you ultimately. They all dapped up, through we'll just go and do what we do best. We hurt people. And they said they're going to turn their attention to Big Bill. They're not even mentioning it. It was so funny to me. They didn't even mention Brian Keith. They said we've got to turn our attention to Big Bill. Like, they are literally dismissing Brian Keith. And MVP had some great lines going back and forth with Brian Keith in that segment that followed MJF leaving the ring and stuff. So yeah, we're looking at a situation where we probably see them next week or so come back round to MJF and be like, hey, misunderstanding, we've spoken about it, welcome to the Hurt Syndicate. And then if the ball's in MJF's court, does he join them? Does he actually join them there? And what does that look like if that's going to be the situation? I think this was the out for MJF, if you see what I mean. Like, MJF can now turn around and be like, well, you guys didn't want me, sort of thing, so I'm not going to join now, sort of thing. I'm not like sloppy seconds. So yeah, I think this is a very interesting story, because like I said, I wouldn't have put MJF there anyway. Like, aesthetically, I'm sure we've all been thinking, well, they're gonna add another black guy. And excuse me, MJF isn't that. MJF isn't another black guy. So, but there are other black guys on the roster that they could add. Two come to mind for me. I did want Ricochet in there. I did say Ricochet early. I think Ricochet has somewhat developed himself as a character on the show and doesn't. You put Ricochet in the Hurt Syndicate tomorrow, I won't be sad. I will not be sad. I will not complain. I think it'll still be a great move for him and great move for the group. However, I think Ricochet's been waiting all of his life to play a role like he is playing right now. So just while he's in his groove, while he's doing a good job, I say you probably just leave him to continue as opposed to putting him into Hurt Syndicate. There are things that Hurt Syndicate can do to kind of help push him further forward. Be that kind of heel faction around him, and then he goes on to cheat and win a title or something like that. Just the basic tropes. I think there is value in doing stuff like that, but like they say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And right now, bro's on the run of his life, like from character standpoint. And that's what we're talking about, because we've been knowing that Ricochet is one of the greatest wrestlers. This isn't news, but it's from a character standpoint. He's doing some of the strongest stuff of his career, and probably some of the strongest character work on AEW TV currently that we're getting from the current roster on a week-to-week basis now. He is one of the people that are right up there. So yeah, I'm tempted to leave Ricochet where he is. That leaves my other two options, who have always been my two options. For me, it's always been these three names that I'm about to mention. Ricochet being number one, Cedric Alexander being number two. Now, I'm very aware Cedric Alexander has a interview out currently with Chris Van Vliet I haven't watched it. I understand from the title, he speaks about Hurt Business. He speaks about AEW. My thing with Cedric Alexander and AEW situation was that obviously all of those years ago, Tony Khan disrespected Cedric's wife, Big Swole, on Twitter. So I don't know whether Cedric joins AEW because of that. If there's a place for him, I can understand you in solidarity, standing up by your missus and kind of not wanting to go there because of that disrespect. At the same time, and I don't know their financial situation to talk on, but at the same time, neither of them are working in a major promotion right now, and I'll put it that way. So it could be worth his while and the family's while. They might say, no, well, he disrespected me, but he might show you respect. He might apologize to you. He might want to give you the job to kind of bury the hatchet sort of thing. So Cedric Alexander could go there. We know the Hurt Business in WWE had so much untapped potential, just not used. The fact that when I was in Philadelphia last year at Wale Mania, I think it was either MVP. No, it was Shelton. It was either it might have been Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin, because they were honoring Shelton Benjamin on the night. Shelton Benjamin said, "This is the first time the four of us, Bobby Lashley, MVP, Shelton Benjamin himself, and Cedric Alexander, are standing in front of a live crowd." And the penny dropped for everyone in there. As much as we enjoyed the Hurt Syndicate in the pandemic, the Hurt Syndicate or the Hurt Business in the WWE never saw a live crowd. Never saw a live crowd. So yeah, it's one of them ones where Cedric Alexander was OG Hurt Business. If they slide him back in now, makes sense. It makes sense. It depends, it all depends on the dynamics of the group and what they want this group to look like and stuff. But just for the nostalgia of it all, if you like, he's an option. He's definitely an option. I think the third option I've always had, and someone I want to see, and to be, if I'm being completely honest, so I stopped watching Ring of Honor a long time ago because I don't think that they cared about the show. I expected AEW to hold it in higher reverence just because it is Ring of Honor, and they've let me down in that regard. So I stopped watching it. And I didn't know that Kevin Knight has been wrestling on that show, even for, I think it might just be a couple of weeks, but Kevin Knight's been there. Kevin Knight is my third option. Kevin Knight is my third option to join the Hurt Syndicate because he is the young upstart. He's the guy that one day could become the guy. Kevin Knight is, it's almost like a Randy Orton in Evolution sort of thing. I think there is such a high side of this guy. Came from the New Japan dojo, has had an extensive run ever since in TNA, on New Japan TV at times as well, especially Strong. I think this guy is special. Fits the bill, fits the aesthetic, can come in and just be the guy that is, the one they're going to train up into like a singles capacity. Doesn't have to win the world title to have that kind of quote unquote trademark faction aesthetic. But I think that he could definitely be somebody that is a major player for the Hurt Syndicate. Kevin Knight, yeah. Kevin Knight, for me, that could be someone that comes in and does good for them. It'll be interesting to hear, you guys' names for who should fill this last spot in the Hurt Syndicate. If he was available, he's not. He works for WWE, but if he was, I'd put Montez Ford in there in a heartbeat. in a heartbeat. That one is probably more so higher up the card, world championship ready, if he had the backing of Syndicate. But he's not. And yeah, he'll be realistic. So realistically, Shelton, Ricochet, Cedric Alexander, and Kevin Knight. I think one of them are still the ones to be in Hurt Syndicate. But let me know who you guys think down below in the comments. Let's move on. The fourth thing that we learned from AEW Dynamite is that rated FDR are still in the trios hunt. This was a very interesting segment because we know what happened last week. We know that FTR bowled Dax. He had a little temper tantrum up against Cope, following Cope not winning against John Moxley. In this promo, he put it down to, look, we kind of put our hopes and dreams and our tag team title ambitions on the sideline to back you to get the job done so you can achieve your dream. You've had 2 bites of the cherry and you haven't done it. And Cope was like, wait, when did I tell you to put your dreams on to one side for me? And yeah, they didn't bicker back and forth. Dax accepted that, I just got the frustration got the best of me, sort of thing. And he tried to move on quickly from that. He tried to go on to be like, okay, well, now that that's done, now that you haven't done it, and there was a bit of a sly dig in there. Like, now you haven't done it, like, we have to refocus. I'm interested in those tag team championships. Hurt Syndicate were coming for you and all that kind of stuff. And that's when Cash kind of piped up, and Cash was like, listen, both of you, I love both of you, wouldn't be where I am without either of you and stuff like that. However, I still think that rated FTR, the 3 of them, there is some mileage in here, and we can still go after the trios championships against the Death Riders. So they're not quite leaving the Death Riders alone. The Death Riders also have the trios titles, which they're interested in. And yeah, Cash acknowledged that that's something he would like to do. Cope then said, if you guys are game, I'm game for it as well. And the whole time you can see Dax was pretty much like, I don't really want to do this. I want to go after the tag team titles, but he's playing, let's keep the family happy and all of that kind of stuff. So he's like, you know what? Let's go and get the trios titles. Let's go win that. He does his whole top guys out shtick. And then Cope was just like, oh, wait there, rated FTR out. So he's almost being corrected there as well. There is something brewing here. And I'm invested. I think it is going to be some fun. I think we are seeing the collapse of rated FTR. I don't know if they win that title, because God knows, as God is my witness, God knows that Death Riders have to lose those trios titles, because for the large part, they're doing nothing with it. And it's not even on TV. Like, they showed up on TV. The actual titles showed up on TV this week because we were trying to sell this segment. So then afterwards, Death Riders had their own kind of promo, but it's the Death Riders have had these titles for so long without doing much of anything with it. So a part of me wants rated FTR to win these titles just so they can move around and do some stuff with it, On the other hand, they are clearly collapsing. Rated FTR are clearly on their way out. They're clearly collapsing. So how are they going to be trios champions? Or maybe they have a short stint with the titles and lose it, and that causes the collapse. I feel like Dax is spotting something about Cope's character, which is going to come to light very soon, and that maybe Cope can't be trusted. I can see Cope teaming up with Christian Cage, and finally we get Edge and Christian in AEW doing tag stuff, maybe. And then we get maybe this is to build towards Edge and Christian, or Cope and Christian versus FTR at All In. This could be like a bit of a longer game for that big show, which I think would be fun. I think that'll be fine. I don't have an issue with Cope when it comes to in ring and giving his all, because he's a good performer in that regard. But I don't like him trying to do too much, because sometimes when I don't know, it might just be him giving his all. Like, I find it a bit overbearing and almost like he's trying to steal the show, steal the spotlight, sort of thing. So yeah, I've always had this very weird relationship with Cope in terms of my fandom. Christian, I love. I think Christian's great, but Cope, I don't know, man. But yeah, I think the long game is Cope and Christian versus FTR at All In. How we get there is now the question. But for the love of God, Death Riders need to lose that tag team title, trios title. Sorry, they need to lose it. They need to lose it. But this segment was really good. I thought the segment was good. Set up some bits. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what more comes from this. Have I got any honorable mentions from Dynamite before we get into the fifth thing? Carl Fletcher, he had a good match against Brody King. We saw Mark Davis help him get the win. I think Carl Fletcher's great. Powerhouse Hobbs, they're finding a way to put him on TV. I'm not really convinced. It literally feels like we're just trying to put him on TV, like shoehorn him into stuff. So I'm not really invested. I'm not really sold. I'm not overly sold by it all. Yeah. Another show passed. Mercedes Moné not on the show. She's going to be wrestling on Collision though this week. I mean, with Mercedes Moné, I don't know what to think. I can't even lie. I don't know what to think, because granted, she's not the top champion. So does she need to be on the show every week? Probably not. And that's a fair point. But just for someone that is of that star power, I don't know. I kind of expect her to be doing more. And when she is there, she's just doing backstage promos with Renee Paquette. Yeah, it's a weird one for me. I might have to explore that more. But yeah, let's not dilly-dally. Let's not waste any time. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here. Let's get into the fifth and final thing that we learned from AEW Dynamite on March 26th episode. And that thing is that we have to sit up and take Megan Bayne seriously. In a tag match, Megan Bayne pinned Toni Storm, not Thunder Rosa, who was Toni Storm's tag team partner in this match. Megan Bayne pinned the women's champion, Timeless Toni Storm. I think it's already been announced. I'm pretty sure it already has. Toni Storm versus Megan Bayne at Dynasty for the AEW Women's Championship. So they put this tag match together, Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford versus Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm. This was the main event of Monday Night Raw of AEW Dynamite. The ladies got about 10 minutes or so in this main event. Decent stuff. It was good fun, especially from the Thunder Rosa, Toni Storm side of things, the dynamic they had. But they're really building Megan Bayne. Now, are they going to do the quote unquote AEW thing where they really build somebody, Tony Storm beats her at Dynasty, because that is 100% what I'm expecting to happen. And then what happens to Megan Bayne from there? What happens to Megan Bayne from there? It was funny earlier on this show. I was talking about, Speedball Mike Bailey, let him lose to Kenny Omega, let him be pinned by Kenny Omega. And then we've got this whole loss out the way, because, people always say they're undefeated. Oh my God, now they've lost. Now what? Megan Bayne's been on a streak. She has been on an absolute streak. These aren't defenses where she's winning by the skin of her teeth either, or wins, where she's winning by the skin of her teeth. She's dominating these ladies, and, next, who's next? Everyone's just a bodies for her, putting them away with F5s and thing. So, yeah, Tony Storm has her work cut out for her at Dynasty. When Tony Storm beats Megan Bayne, what is next for Megan Bayne? That is the question. That is the question. So, yeah, be very, very interesting. Megan Bayne, I think it's come a bit soon in terms of her being the next person to go after the title, but maybe they wanted to inject fresh blood into the women's division and fresh challengers, which is fine. Then I'm here for it. Either way, they've done a good job with Megan Bayne so far. I think she looks amazing. I think she looks the part. Like, she looks like a formidable character. She looks like she's the biggest, strongest woman in that division, which she very well might be. Yeah, she's been handled very, very well so far. It's just when she loses at Dynasty, because I'm pretty sure she will lose at Dynasty, what's next? We're going to have to build back up that monster to a degree. So, yeah, it's good stuff, though. It's good stuff. And just, I don't know if I say this now, I save it for the Sunday show, Wrestling Weekly. Obviously, we know the news now of Paige leaving. Saraya, that is. We know the news that Mariah May, her contract is higgy. Her contract might be up come the summer. We also know the news that Mina Shirakawa looks like she has signed with AEW. So a bit of a revolving door right now with the women's division on AEW. I think Saraya, which will probably go into more detail, on the weekend or so, if I can get recorded on the weekend, didn't work out for me. Just, I've got a soft spot for Saraya. Nothing worked. It just didn't work. Like, her going to AEW, it didn't do what it said on the tin at all in any capacity. So yeah, that's a shame. I think that Mariah May signing a 2-year deal at AEW, and if I'm being honest, I don't even know if it's been a 2-year deal. Depending when she signed, I'm pretty sure she's only been on TV for 18 months, and she's had a hell of an 18 months. But would AEW have let her sign an 18-month deal, a 2-year deal? Like, surely 3 years is the minimum. So I don't really know what's gone on there, and I guess we're all kind of waiting for more information. And do you guys want her to stay on, or go elsewhere? She's a big WWE fangirl. If you know of Mariah May, before now, she's a massive WWE fan. This could be her, because I'm sure if she wanted to stay, she would stay. Maybe she's playing a bit of games here to get a nice big new contract from Tony, and might use WWE for leverage for that. Maybe she's just trying to keep her name hot. Like, there isn't, basically anything she does right now in AEW is a step down from where she has just been. Let's just call it as it is, point blank, period. So maybe she feels like, all right, let me leave, go to the other side, go to WWE, maybe do, 2 to 3, 5 years there, depending on whatever the contract is. And I just, hop back and forth and keep my stock high, sort of thing. As opposed to if I now go and wrestle for the TBS title, or worse, I'm not on TV, or worse than that, I'm on Ring of Honor, my stock has plummeted, and she won't be able to demand those big contracts. Like I said, hopefully this weekend we can talk more about Saraya and Mariah May. Maybe some more news will be out. And then, of course, Mina Shirakawa, who we've seen on AEW TV, was integral again to the Tony Storm and Mariah May storyline that we saw and we enjoyed. So, yeah, good to see her get her big break in America. I think she'll be brilliant on TV. She's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to Mina. Where she finds herself on the card, I don't know. Could be a good option to beat Mercedes for the TBS title after Mercedes beat her for the Rev Pro titles and stuff like that. Could be a good option for that to kind of get her one back. But I think that TBS spot is being reserved for Athena, or I like to think is being reserved for Athena. If not Athena, Willow Nightingale. But yeah, Mina can throw her name in there and be a shout as well. So yeah, a lot of good stuff happening in the women's division, as I mentioned at the top of the show. Definitely has stepped up, but the revolving door is a bit of a concern, I would imagine. Mina's a good get. Saraya exiting, I think, is fine. That's absolutely fine. That's not a big loss. But Mariah May could be one that, after all you've invested in her in the last 18 months, you probably don't want to lose her at this juncture right now. So yeah, we'll see how that continues to pan out. But yeah, guys, that is AEW Dynamite. Like I said, I feel that's a decent show. I think that, we're building Dynasty quite nicely. One of the new pay-per-views is the second installment ever of AEW Dynasty, coming up on April 6th. So next week we will be doing predictions. We'll be doing predictions for AEW Dynasty. And yeah, we'll see how that pans out. AEW pay-per-views are generally straightforward to predict, generally speaking. So yeah, we'll see. But that's Swerve Moxley match, like I said. Swerve, there's every chance Swerve can be the guy to win at Dynasty, and Dynasty just becomes his show. He talks about building a dynasty a lot. Did he win the title at Dynasty last year? Had the defense, I can't remember, but yeah, he's already stamped his mark in Dynasty history, so could do it again. Guys, like I said, hopefully I'll be able to do a Sunday night stream, Wrestling Weekly, with you guys. We talk about all the major news stories and what's happened over the weekend. Do make sure you are liking, you're subscribing on the channel. There is a Shinsuke Nakamura video out right now on my channel. What happened to Shinsuke Nakamura, his booking. I just take a look at his booking, and from where he was when he joined WWE to where he is now, it's unfortunate, man. So yeah, check that out. And I've got another video hopefully coming for you guys next week. I'm working on it now. So yeah, a lot of stuff on the channel. Make sure you check it out. Hit the like button, subscribe as well. And I'll see you in the next one. WrestleManiac UK signing out. And I'll see you soon.